India is a South Asian country named after the Indus River. The Indus Valley Civilization arose in ancient India, in what is now Pakistan and northwest India, during the early 3rd millennium BCE. It became well known due to its well-planned cities. In the mid-2nd millennium BCE, the Indus Valley Civilization perished. The development of religious culture in ancient India, from which Hinduism, Jainism, and Buddhism evolved as distinct religions, was a watershed moment in world history. The Indus Valley Civilization arose in ancient India along the Indus River in what is now Pakistan and northwest India during the early 3rd millennium BCE. It was one of the world's first civilizations, existing alongside other ancient global civilizations such as Mesopotamia and ancient Egypt. It became well known due to its well-planned cities. In the mid-2nd millennium BCE, the Indus Valley Civilization perished. Over the next 1,000 years, Aryans who spoke an Indo-European language advanced from Central Asia into northern India. As semi-nomadic pastoral clans led by military chiefs, they migrated to India. They built tribal kingdoms and established themselves as overlords over the ancient Dravidian populations they encountered. This period of ancient Indian history is known as the Vedic Age, as described in the earliest Indian scriptures, the Vedas. The most fundamental feature of traditional Indian culture is the Vedic Age. The rise of early Hinduism as India's founding religion and the social/religious phenomenon known as caste are two examples. It lasted roughly from 1500 BCE to 500 BCE, or from the beginning of the Aryan migrations to the Buddhist time. The early Aryans' tribal lifestyle gave way to the more sophisticated civilization of ancient India's Classic Age. The Indian subcontinent experienced the emergence of urban society and literary culture during this period. It was a period of great creativity in Indian history, with the birth of two new religions, Jainism and Buddhism. This period of ancient India ended in 320 BCE with the establishment of the Mauryan Empire, the first significant imperial power in Old India. Ashoka was the most famous of the Maurya emperors, the most famous monarch in the history of ancient India, and one of the most notable in the entire ancient world, also spelled Asoka, reigned 272 to 232 BCE. He was a wonderful and appealing ruler, sympathetic, tolerant, and unwavering in his pursuit of justice and the well-being of all his subjects. The vast Mauryan Empire crumbled 50 years after Ashoka's death. Outlying provinces fell away, and by the mid-2nd century BCE, the empire had shrunk to its core territories. Several great states arose from the ruins of the empire, the most powerful of which was the Satavahana kingdom. The Indo-Greek kingdom of Bactria emerged northwest of the subcontinent, in what is now Afghanistan. The territory was quickly breached and invaded by the Scythian people of Central Asia, known in Indian history as the Saka. They were driven out of the northwest by the Kushana people, who established a formidable empire spanning northern India and parts of Central Asia. This series of northwest republics produced a distinct culture known to modern scholars as the Gandhara civilization. It was influenced by Indian, Greek, and Persian elements. Gandhara's main religion was Buddhism, and its location along the Silk Road spread its influence far and wide. Buddhism was brought to China by its missionaries in particular. Gandhara had a significant cultural impact on the Indian subcontinent, and the art and architecture of the Gupta Empire owed a lot to it. The Vedic Age was a dark age in Indian history because it was a time of violent turmoil, and no written documents from that time have survived. It was, however, one of the most scrutinized for significance in ancient Indian civilization. The arrival of the Aryans in ancient India, and their subsequent dominance, resulted directly in the caste system. This rigidly divided Indian society into tiers, which were supported by religious norms. Originally, there were only 4 castes: priests, warriors, farmers and traders, and menial workers. The untouchables lived outside the caste system, excluded from Aryan-dominated society. Despite the fact that many hunter-gatherer societies occupied the majority of the Indian subcontinent in the early days, one of the agricultural advancements in ancient India's economic history. The use of iron spread throughout the Middle East beginning around 800 BCE, increasing agricultural productivity and population growth. It began in the northern Indian plains, but Iron Age farming quickly spread throughout the subcontinent. The hunter-gatherers were pushed deeper and deeper into India's jungles and hills, where they eventually took up farming and were assimilated into the Aryan civilization as new castes. Iron Age farming was a watershed moment in ancient India's history, ushering in the revival of urban society on the subcontinent. Cities flourished, trade increased, metal money appeared, and alphabetic script developed. The civilization of ancient India provided an excellent breeding ground for religious creativity. The religion of the Indus Valley Civilization is difficult to reconstruct, but there are strong indications that it had a significant impact on India's later religious history. In any case, the Vedic Age, the next era of ancient Indian history, saw the emergence of a belief system that served as the foundation for all subsequent Indian faiths. It is also known as Brahmanism or the Vedic religion. The cycle of life, the soul's reincarnation from one species to another, is also included in the pantheon of gods and goddesses. Later, the idea of the physical realm being an illusion grew. Prominently emphasized in the new doctrines of Buddhism and Jainism, both of which originated in ancient India around 500 BCE. Ancient India produced a wealth of literature, which was strongly linked to these religious changes. The Aryans created an abundance of songs, stories, chants, rituals, and so on during the years following their arrival in northern India, known as the Vedic Age, in an oral tradition known as the Vedas. In ancient India, the earliest examples of written literature are short sutras and concise sentences that represent religious and philosophical concepts. It also depicts the development of the first Jainism and Buddhist texts. Sanskrit was an Indo-European language related to Persian, Greek, Latin, German, and others. It was written in Sanskrit, using the Brahmic script, which served as the foundation for all subsequent Indian literature. The Gupta dynasty represented the pinnacle of ancient Indian literature. Many other Indian poets and playwrights, including Kalidasa, most likely lived and worked around this time. Other works covered mathematics, health, politics, and other subjects. The legendary politician Kautilya's Arthashastra, for example, predates Machiavelli by about 2,000 years. The development of religious culture in ancient India, from which Hinduism, Jainism, and Buddhism evolved as distinct religions, was a watershed moment in world history. Currently, billions of people practice one or more of these religions. Buddhism has had a significant impact on cultures in China, Japan, Korea, Tibet, and Southeast Asia, in addition to the Indian subcontinent. It is rapidly spreading in the West, with some calling it the fastest-growing religion. The interaction of three competing but inextricably linked belief systems, as well as the strict logic derived from Sanskrit's well-defined grammatical norms, created a rich and tolerant intellectual environment. It would pave the way for historic achievements.